I got a firsthand look at a Pfizer manufacturing plant today, expressing optimism that all Americans will have access to a COVID vaccine this year. But the president wouldn't make a firm commitment on when life here in the United States would return to normal. Our senior White House correspondent, Phil Mattingly, is joining us right now. Phil, update our viewers.
Yeah, Wolf, the president making clear the end of the coronavirus pandemic is in sight, but the pathway to get there is still littered with bumps and hurdles, and how it actually comes to be, well, according to the president, that is up to the Americans themselves.
We're going to beat this. We're going to beat this.
Tonight, President Joe Biden touting the one thing that could bring an end to the nightmare that is coronavirus.
If there's one message to cut through to everyone in this country, is this: the vaccines are safe. Please, for yourself, your family, your community, this country, take the vaccine when it's your turn and available. That's how to beat this pandemic.
Biden touring a Pfizer plant in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the largest in the company's network, engaged in manufacturing the COVID-19 vaccine.
I believe we'll be approaching normalcy by the end of this year, and God willing, this Christmas will be different than last. But I can't make that commitment to you.
While also pausing to recognize the cost as the death toll nears 500,000.
That is almost 70,000 more than all the Americans who died in World War II over a 4-year period.
And challenging Republicans who oppose his $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan.
What would they have me cut? What would they have me leave out? Should we not invest $20 billion to vaccinate the nation? Should we not invest $290 million to extend unemployment insurance for the 11 million Americans who are unemployed so they can get by while they get back to work?
For Biden, a day spent straddling the dual challenges of domestic and foreign policy. President, in remarks to the Munich Security Conference, putting an exclamation point on a dramatic shift in U.S. posture.
America is back. The transatlantic alliance is back. And we are not looking backward. We are looking forward together.
With subtle but crystal clear digs at his predecessor as the White House seeks to reestablish America's closest alliances.
Our partnerships have endured and grown through the years because they are rooted in the richness of our shared democratic values. They're not transactional. They're not extractive.
And Wolf, the White House is still continuing to press to also get all of their nominees confirmed. And one of those nominees is now running into significant problems. Neera Tanden, Biden's nominee to be the director of the Office of Management and Budget, will now have the opposition of one Democrat. Joe Manchin putting out a statement, the senator from West Virginia, saying that he will oppose her nomination due to, as he's called them, overtly partisan statements directed at both parties. And here's why this matters. The White House has the narrowest of majorities in the United States Senate, 50-50, with Vice President Kamala Harris serving as the tiebreaker. They can't afford to lose a single Democrat if they don't have any Republican support. Now, a senior administration official tells me they will not be pulling the nomination. They're waiting to see what Republicans do here. But all of this underscores the high wire act that the administration is facing, not just with their nominees, but also with that cornerstone legislative proposal, the $1.9 trillion COVID relief package. They can't afford to lose any Democrats if they aren't going to get Republican support. The administration working hard behind the scenes to ensure they keep everybody in line, Wolf.
All right, Phil, thank you very much. Phil Mattingly at the White House. We're joined now by the independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. He's the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. I want to get to several important critical issues. But first, what's your reaction to this news that Democratic Senator Manchin will not vote to confirm Neera Tanden for OMB? You, of course, questioned her about her tweets. She personally attacked you in some of those tweets. Is it time, do you believe, for President Biden to withdraw her nomination, put someone else potentially there?
Well, I worry less about what Ms. Tanden did in the past than what she's going to do in the future. I will be speaking to her early next week to get a sense of what she wants to do as head of the OMB. But so right now, let me
just ask you, Senator,
as the chairman of the Budget Committee,
would you vote to confirm her if it was
I'm going to be talking to her early next week. But what I am focusing on right now as chairman of the Budget Committee is the absolute necessity of us passing this COVID emergency relief bill, which is life and death for tens of millions of working class and middle class Americans. We have got to get those $1,400 direct payments into the pockets of every working class adult and their kids. We've got to extend unemployment benefits until September. And we, by expanding the child tax credit, can cut childhood poverty in America by 50%. And as the president just mentioned today, we have to do everything we can to increase the production of vaccines in America and get them into the arms of the American people. That's how we open our schools safely. That's how we get workers back to work.
I want to talk about the COVID relief bill, which is so critical, as you correctly point out. But is my understanding correct that you have not yet made up your mind on whether to confirm Neera Tanden for OMB?
I will be talking to Ms. Tanden early in the week. We've talked once. I want to talk to her again. That is a very important position. And I want to know that the head of OMB is somebody who is going to be standing up for the working families of this country, for the middle class, for lower income people, and has the guts to stand up to the big money interests who have so much influence over what goes on in Washington.
Let's get to some of the specifics of the COVID relief bill. The White House responded, as you probably know, to a report that the president thinks it's unlikely the $15 minimum wage actually winds up staying in the deal. They say Biden hopes it remains, but knows it has to go through a lengthy Senate procedural parliamentary process. What are you hearing from the White House specifically on this?
Well, it's not the White House that matters on this one. It's what my committee is doing, what the Health and Education Committee is doing, the Finance Committee with Senator Schumer and leadership are doing. And all of us are working together to, and I won't bore the American people with the arcane rules of the Senate, but what we have got to do is convince the parliamentarian, one person, that the $15 an hour minimum wage, which in my view we desperately need, is consistent with the rules of the Senate and reconciliation. We made, all these committees and their lawyers made those arguments. I think that they are right. I think we're on the right side, and I think we can win that argument. We'll know about that probably definitively next week.
As you know, right now the minimum wage is only $7.25 an hour, and it's been like that since 2009. If it were included in the new legislation, it would immediately, I understand, go up to $9.50 an hour. Then there would be annual increases, but gradually it wouldn't get to $15 an hour until 2025. Is that your understanding as well?
Well, it's not my understanding, Wolf. I wrote the bill. That's what it is. And I appreciate you making that point, because a lot of people are saying, oh my God, it's $7.25 right now. And if we raise it to $15 an hour next year, a lot of businesses are going to have trouble accommodating that increase. And the answer is, you've just indicated, it is not, it's going to go up gradually until 2025. And furthermore, we intend to provide tax credits to small businesses to help them with this wage increase. But this is a gradual increase. And look, Wolf, if you were to ask me what the major economic crisis in this country is today, it's not just unemployment. It is the fact that half of our workers are living paycheck to paycheck, and millions of people are working for starvation wages. You cannot survive in any state in this country on $8 or $9 an hour. You certainly cannot raise your kids on those wages. We need the minimum wage to be a living wage, and conservatively speaking, $15 by 2025 is what we've got to do. I would go further, but I'll accept that.
And a lot of people don't appreciate that. And it's really sad that for 11 or 12 years, it's remained at only $7.25 an hour. You can't make a living. You're in poverty if that's what you're making right now. So it's got to go up, and let's see if it does go up. But you know, there are some, not just Republicans, but some Democrats who are opposing a raise, and they'll say they'll vote against the entire package if it's included. What do you say to them, like Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema, for example?
Well, what I say is, look, there are 50 Democrats, and any one can torpedo any piece of legislation. But I believe that in this unprecedented moment in American history, Wolf, where so many people are suffering, working class people worried about feeding their kids, worried about being evicted, paying a doctor's bill, I believe we're all going to stand together. We're going to support the president, notwithstanding, our differences on this or that aspect. I have differences with the bill, But at the end of the day, what the American people are saying in overwhelming numbers is we are hurting. We are worried about our kids. We're worried about our parents. Help us. And if we are one country, and if the government is supposed to represent the people of this country, we have got to act. We've got to act decisively. And I am confident that every member of the Democratic caucus, and hopefully some Republicans, will do that.
Well, they're going to have to make up their minds very quickly because it's coming up. It's got to come up soon. By mid-March, it's got to be passed. Otherwise, a lot more people are going to be suffering right now. Senator Sanders, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
More now on our top story, the water crisis facing most of Texas tonight after the power debacle brought on by days of record cold temperatures. Right now, almost 15 million people are experiencing water disruptions. That's more than half of the state's population. Joining us now, the mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner. Mayor Turner, thank you so much for joining us. You say Houston, the largest city in Texas, I think the fourth largest city in the United States, right after Chicago, has come a long way restoring power, but I know you're not out of the woods yet. A lot of people are still struggling without water. What's the situation like right now? What are the residents dealing with?
Well, things have improved significantly over the last 48 hours. 48 hours ago, the pressure in the city of Houston for its water system was below 20 psi. And that's the regulatory requirement. When it falls below 20, you have to give the boil water notice. As of a couple of hours ago, my director of public works is saying on average, we are now at 40 psi. But there are still pockets within the city where the pressure is still too low. So people may be experiencing low pressure or no pressure at all. So we are continuing to push the system. Things are continuing to improve, but a lot more people have access to water, our hospitals, our jails, businesses, residential consumers. So much better shape, but we're still not there yet. And then until we can stabilize, let's say over a 12-hour period, take samples, send them to the state for them to take a look at. Those samples have to lay out for 24 hours before you get the all clear signal. We remain under the boil water notice until then.
I know, at least as of yesterday, you told us you hadn't spoken with the Texas Governor, Greg Abbott, since the crisis began. Any update on that? Have the two of you connected, the governor and the mayor of the largest city in Texas?
I have not spoken to him, Wolf. I have had several conversations with the Biden administration, several of them. I've had those conversations, but I've not had an opportunity to speak with the governor. Look, we're staying laser focused on the issues that are here. In terms of power outages, 3 days ago, there were 1.4 million people in the Houston region without power. As of today, that number is under 4,900. So we've made significant progress there. The pressure is increasing. We're not where we need to be yet, but we are moving in the right direction. I'm particularly sensitive now to people who are on the margins, for example, don't have financial means, and pipes are bursting, all over the place. So there are thousands of homes, of people living in apartments who are now facing a situation where their ceilings have fallen, their properties have been damaged, they don't have insurance, they don't have the financial means, and they're wondering, okay, how do we move forward? And so we'll focus on assisting them, and we'll be creating a fund to assist these persons. So there are a lot of things that we still need to do, and I look forward to working with our state leaders. We look forward to working with people on the federal level. It will take all of us working together to kind of get on top of this situation. Yeah,
you would think, though, that the governor would be in touch with you, would call you to see what specifically he could do to help, and he's been silent, which is, from my perspective, worrisome, but I'll give you the last word.
Well, look, I think the people in the state, the people in our respective cities and counties want us all to work together. I stand ready to work with the governor, with our state legislators to make sure that this situation never happens again. This was an avoidable situation. We simply were not prepared. We did not have enough capacity. I filed a bill, Wolf, when I was in the legislature in 2011. That would have required the Public Utility Commission to make sure that ERCOT, our Texas grid, has sufficient reserve power to prevent blackouts. That bill never got a hearing in the legislature.
Yeah.
So I look forward to working with the governor and the legislature to make sure that this situation does not repeat itself.
It's hard to believe this was going on right here in the United States of America. So much of these pictures we're seeing seem to be coming from a third world country. It's hard to believe it's happening in Texas, and it's happened over these past several days. Mayor Turner, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck to you. Good luck to everyone
Thanks,
in Houston.
Will.
Former President Trump could return to the public eye as soon as next week. A source close to the former president says he's considering an invitation to speak at the Conservative Political Action Conference. Let's discuss with our chief political correspondent, Dana Bash, and our chief national correspondent, John King. John, we know Trump loves speaking to crowds. What could he possibly gain, though, from speaking at CPAC in the coming days? Are there any risks involved?
Well, what he would gain, Wolf, is he would soothe his ego. He's lived through a period of time. He just had a Senate impeachment trial. Yes, he was acquitted, but it's a big stand at his legacy. The Senate Republican leader, he's in an open feud with him, went to the floor and said the president's conduct was reprehensible, and he wants no part of him in the Republican Party. So in the middle of this debate of where does Trump, or whether Trump fits in the future of the Republican Party, it would offer him a platform. Are there risks? Of course there are risks. Now, I might define risk differently than the former president. The former president might define risk differently than Mitch McConnell and other Republicans. There are risks. He stirs up more trouble and hurts himself instead of helping himself. But, Wolf, it'll be interesting to watch. We know that he wants to stir up this fight. We know that he likes this fight. CPAC is a possibility. He's also been invited to a Republican National Committee meeting in April, which is closer to home. It's in Palm Beach. So let's keep an eye on him.
Yeah, he would love those crowds, I'm sure. You know, Dana, you've been doing some excellent reporting on this trip that Senator Lindsey Graham is making to visit the former president in Palm Beach. What's the goal here?
The goal is to try to be, in the words of a source, constructive in trying to bring the former president back into the fold with a very, very specific, very clear-eyed goal, which is for Republicans to regain control of the United States Senate. It's razor thin, 50-50, can't get any tighter than that. And Republicans across the board here in Washington, I'm sure you both have heard this as well, they are freaking out about the idea that if the former president gets involved in a place like Arizona and decides to throw support behind one of his favorite politicians, Kelly Ward, who's the party chair there, who Republicans don't think could win if she won a Republican primary statewide, then that could be one problem. Same goes with Georgia. Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's concern that maybe she would run against David Perdue, who's already said that he's running. That could take Georgia off the board. And, you know, the list goes on and on. So, look, Senator Graham has had mixed results in his courtship of the former president, in his friendship with the former president, and his political alliance with the former president. But this is one area where the hope is that he can try to at least steer him in the right way to make it about his legacy and how much his legacy is tied into the future of the Republican Party, because he changed it dramatically.
He certainly did. You know, John, we learned that Trump rejected a request from Nikki Haley for a meeting at Mar-a-Lago. Is this the new test for Republican candidates, being granted an audience with Trump?
It's the current test. Let's remember, this president has lost friends over the years. The former president has lost friends over the years. And sometimes when his circle gets smaller, he goes back to people he had previously sent into exile. Brad Parscale, for example, his former campaign manager, was back down meeting with the former president recently. So Trump is very transactional. People who are on the outs today could be in the inner circle 6 months from now. So let's be careful about this. But right now, yes, he is mad at any Republican who criticizes him. Mitch McConnell said the president's conduct was reprehensible. The former president issued a statement, going to war in very personal, insulting terms. Nikki Haley tried to straddle. She was talking about how things he had done, the former president had done, that she thought were great, how important his supporters were to the party. But she also said his conduct after the election was reprehensible and that Republicans were wrong to stay with him. For that, she is now banished from Mar-a-Lago. So right now, that's the president's dividing line. No ambiguity. You're either for me or against me. Do not say I did anything wrong, or you don't get to come kiss the ring. Will that last? We'll see as we go forward.
We certainly will. Guys, thank you very much. An important note to our viewers, be sure to join Dana Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, for State of the Union. Among her guests this Sunday, Dr. Anthony Fauci will be watching, of course. Toll on the country's COVID vaccination effort. CNN's Nick Watt has more from Los Angeles.
Now we know just how badly this weather is delaying vaccinations.
We have a backlog of about 6 million doses due to the weather. We anticipate that all the backlog doses will be delivered within the next week.
Started shipping some of that already and just announced plans to open 4 federal vaccination sites in Florida, 1 in Pennsylvania.
To target vaccinations to those who are most vulnerable.
But with production times, miscommunication, infrastructure issues, the sheer size of this task, is it time to delay second doses?
I proposed this back in early January. Got a lot of pushback.
The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were both trialed and authorized as double dose, but Israeli researchers who tracked over 7,000 hospital staff now say that after just the first Pfizer dose, symptomatic infections fell 85%.
Even though you can get a fair degree of, quote, protection after a single dose, it clearly is not durable. We know that.
So the White House, for now, will not delay second doses. Today in Los Angeles and elsewhere, second doses are the priority. Dr. Fauci argues the extra durability and protection from that second dose is needed now more than ever.
It's a variant issue to protect against variant.
That threatened to derail our progress. Average case counts just fell nearly a third in just 1 week. Ironic, while much of the country freezes, Pfizer just told the FDA its vaccine does not need to be stored so long at below minus 60 degrees C. It can survive in a regular freezer for a couple of weeks. Pfizer now testing that vaccine on pregnant women, also on high school age kids. Is it safe? Does it work? And they expect that data.
Maybe not exactly coinciding with the first day of school, but sometime in the fall, we will have that.
Now, if there is anybody out there still saying, oh, this is just like the flu, then listen to this. New research shows that 30% of people still have symptoms 9 months after infection with COVID-19. Symptoms like breathing problems, aches, brain fog, fatigue. This is not the flu. I've said it again. Wolf.
You are absolutely right. I know people, months after they had it, they still have brain fog, for example. Nick Watt reporting for us. Thank you very much. Let's get some more on all of this. Dr. Peter Hotez is joining us. He's the professor and dean of tropical medicine at the Baylor College of Medicine. Dr. Hotez, thank you for joining us. You're in Houston, where vaccine appointments have been canceled. Shipments are delayed as a result of the extreme weather crisis. These vaccines are time sensitive, as you know better than I do. How problematic are these delays?
Yeah, I'm pretty worried, Wolf, because originally we heard, well, it was just going to be on Monday. We heard it's just going to be a day or two, and then the shipments will come on Wednesday, and now the shipments have been delayed. So we've really lost a whole week. And the reason I'm concerned about losing a week is because we have this new race ahead of the B117 variant that's coming from the United Kingdom, and it's starting to take off now in Florida. It's going to be pretty much nationwide, we think, by late in March and into April. So we're in this horrible race because that UK variant, or the B117 variant, seems to be much more transmissible, more highly contagious than what we've seen in the past. And the UK government just put up information, which has not been peer reviewed, but it's looking pretty ominous that it's more severe in terms of level of disease and death rates. So now is a real crunch time to get ahead of that variant. So losing a whole week like this is really awful.
It is indeed. Researchers, as you know, Dr. Hotez, in both Israel and Canada, say a single dose of the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine is enough to significantly reduce disease. Dr. Fauci says the second dose still provides critical durability. What do you think? Should U.S. officials consider giving one dose so more Americans can at least begin to get some level of vaccine protection?
Well, look, I think they can look at the data coming out of Israel. I've not seen it. I think the FDA has to evaluate it. But basically, I'm with Tony. I'm with Dr. Fauci in the sense that we know that 2 doses both give high levels of consistent neutralizing antibody and durability of protection. I haven't seen sufficient data yet to go just to that single dose route. Again, delaying it a week or 2 or 3 weeks is may be okay. But any longer than that, you have to face the reality we've got this UK variant coming along. We don't have any data on either single or double dose against the UK variant. I think it's, well, the double dose we do, but not the single dose. So going with the double dose to ensure that we get protection against the UK variant is important. If we collect that data for a single dose against this new variant that's coming up, we can revisit it, but right now it's not there. It's provocative. I think we can afford to delay a little bit, a week or two, but I wouldn't go much beyond that at this point.
I know you're tracking the spread of these more transmissible coronavirus variants. What could the U.S. actually be facing, Dr. Hotez, in the next couple of months if we're not able to speed up the rate at which people are getting vaccinated?
Well, the Institute for Health Metrics is already coming up with, we're already going to be at about 500,000 Americans who've lost their lives, hitting that milestone, that horrible milestone very soon. We're going to be at 650,000 by the end of May into early June, and the numbers keep on going, especially with that higher death rate. So this is pretty scary stuff. I know people are starting to be a bit self-congratulatory about the sharp declines that we've seen in the number of new cases, and that is good news. But I fear it's short-lived based on what we saw in the UK. And remember how this works. Things stay flat for a long time, and then when they go bad very quickly. They go up very quickly. So the UK variant appeared in southern England in September. It looked okay in October, and then towards the end, as you got close to December, then it really accelerated. So we have to be prepared for the same thing to happen here in the United States, and this is not something we want to play games with.
Yeah, the numbers may be going down, but 2,500 Americans died just yesterday from coronavirus, and not just numbers, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters. Dr. Hotez, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much.